first ever virtual meeting of the association. What a year we've had, right?
Oh, man.
It sure looks like we're going to have, oh, Dave, you're going to, first of all, we've got to thank Dave Curtis for doing some real work that makes this all possible, just like last year, and really, really appreciate it. So we're going to be recording this meeting just like we did last year, and it'll be available on YouTube. What, I don't know how long, you know, give Dave at least a couple of weeks to put it up there. And in terms of any ground rules, we're not going to use any of the fancy stuff like raising your hand, that kind of thing. But if you want to ask a question, why don't you just physically raise your hand, and between Dave and me, we think we'll be able to spot you. And I guess that Dave, we'll have to figure out for people who are joining by phone, maybe we can open it up, unmute everybody, so we now know who else might want to say something.
Tony,
yes.
Are you muting us, or do we need to mute ourselves?
I think, Dave, you're going to mute everybody and then unmute at certain times.
Yeah, actually, if you can mute yourself, and then once we do the voting and stuff like that, that's when I'll do the muting of everybody and unmuting of everybody.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So everybody mute yourself now, because at some point we'll run into some background noise and that kind of thing. Particularly if you're outside. Here, there's still somebody who's got maybe some wind noise. So as I said, the meeting's being recorded. As you can see, we're going to have an abbreviated meeting this year. Our usual presentations from our health insurance providers and our union reps. I think we're going to look into having another virtual meeting later in the spring, in which we can invite these representatives to answer any questions that you may have about your benefits, an update on local unions. In addition, we have some official business we need to take care of. We need to actually make a technical correction in terms of amending our constitution and bylaws. Again, a pretty simple matter, and I'll be sending that out. And also, I want to thank everybody who has returned the dues deduction form. We've got more than 3/4 of our members. We have a total membership around 480. 3/4 have either sent a check or sent in their form. It's you may have completed one in the past, but we needed an updated form to comply with the laws. So I guess I should have started by saying I'm Tony Sarmiento, president of the association, and also our other officers are Cheryl Lead, our treasurer. Wave, Cheryl, say hello.
Hi, everybody.
And Cheryl will be giving the treasurer's report. And Michelle Sharon, AKA Mickey, is our vice president.
Hello.
And with that, I think the first item on the agenda was to review and approve the meeting minutes from November 2019. Do I hear a motion to approve? I heard it. Is there a second? All in favor, raise your hand. Oppose? Minutes have been approved. Thank you. Our next item is the treasurer's report. And Cheryl, I'll hand it to you.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're all well and trying to stay safe. Earlier this week, Tony sent out a copy of the financial report, so hopefully everyone has a copy. This fiscal year, we had operating income of $11,812 and expenses of $5,741.52, giving us a net income of $6,070.48, which when added to what we already had in the operating account, left it with a balance of $23,305.68. At the end of our June fiscal year, we had assets totaling in excess of $50,000, so that I can say the state of the Retirees Association financial is extremely satisfying. Our association keeps on growing. Since our last meeting, we've added a net of 32 additional members to our roster after accounting for 13 members who passed on. As of December 1st, our membership stands at 479. We have 444 members on dues checkoff from your pension check. Thank you, guys. You make our bookkeeping so much easier. No second and third past due notices for me to send out. The other 35 members currently opt to pay annually in advance by check. Of those, 7 have still not paid their 2020 dues, and 2 of the 8 have not paid either for 2019. They run the chance of being deleted from the roster soon for non-payment. On a brighter note, 12 members have already paid in advance for 2020. Thank you very much. And one more thing before I go, I want to say a special thank you to Mr. William Sam Jr., who sent in a generous donation to the RA. Thank you very much, Mr. Sam. Are there any questions about our finances?
Dave, you see any up there? Go Leslie.
Hi, Leslie. Unmute yourself. Unmute yourself. You're muted, Leslie.
Oh, here we
Yeah,
go.
it was not unmuting. Okay, sorry. Yeah, I have a question. So with our assets, what sort of things do we do with our assets? What do we use them for?
But right now it's just making money, not a lot of money, because we have it, at the credit union, and the interest is not almost negligible. But it's still sitting there in case, some unfortunate thing would come up, and we're really not using it for anything but to sit and gain more money.
And gain interest. Okay,
So,
that's great.
Leslie, I think that's a really important question, and what I think we can put on the agenda for our next business meeting is hear any proposals of how we may want to consider using at least part of our treasury. We have in the past, we certainly need a reserve.
Right.
I think in the past we've given donations to the Metropolitan Washington Community Service Agency.
And also the teachers union, when they went on strike, we were able to give them donations.
So I think there's a number of solidarity initiatives that we could consider. And I think we should also think about how we could reach out to our members. I'll be giving a little report later in terms of the demographics of our membership, and particularly during these times of this pandemic. Some of the costs we usually incur are less. Obviously, the cost of this meeting is less than the highly catered affair from in person. But I think there's also some things that'd be worth exploring in terms of how we can reach out and get our members to be more connected to each other, particularly as we're sheltering at home.
Yeah, I'd like, maybe we could do something like take suggestions in advance of that next meeting as to what people feel we'd like to spend it on, because there might be people even in this association who are hurting and struggling, and apart from the general community, and maybe there's something we could do with some of that money, that might make a difference in somebody's life.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent suggestion.
Good.
Cheryl, does anyone else have any questions, comments?
Yeah, I do.
Jim.
Tony.
Jim Ellenberger.
At an appropriate moment, perhaps you would accept a motion to make a donation from our association to Stacey Abrams in Georgia for the election that's coming up in early January.
Can we use it for political purposes? I'm not sure.
We have in the past, certainly
Okay.
when I was association president.
Okay. Donation.
I think, yeah, I think we can pick up on it after, or maybe with Julie Green when she gives her presentation, make the case for the importance of our involvement and support in the runoffs in Georgia. So thank you, Jim.
Okay, that's noted.
Anyone else have a question or a comment? I don't see anyone.
Well, with that, I'll turn it over to Marge Tracy, our new Finance Committee Chair.
Hello, everybody. I have examined the Treasurer's Annual Report for fiscal year July 1, 19 to June 30, 2020, and I find it to be fully satisfactory for submission to the record. And I make a motion that we approve this report.
Thank you, Marge. Is there a second? Please raise your hand if you want a second. I see Eva. Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Raise your hand. All opposed, raise your hand. The motion has been passed, so we have accepted the treasurer's report. Thank you, Cheryl and
Welcome.
Marge, for your work in keeping us intact in terms of our money. Next item on the agenda is election of our association secretary. It's been a vacant position this year since our last meeting. And after conferring with Mark Lee Roberts, who has been chair of the nominations committee since the beginning of the organization back in 1998, I believe, he has asked me to go ahead and place into nomination Kim Farrell, who is with us to be our secretary for this year. And I think if you read your newsletter, Kim submitted a little statement. Is really interesting. I thought it was interesting that Kim started working when she was 15 years old, in organization and field services department. So maybe Charlie McDonald might recall what she was like as a young employee that summer. She also worked at the credit union and also worked another 7 years in the industrial union department as assistant controller, then 20 years in the political department. She retired as the PAC administrator, currently lives in Ormond Beach, Florida with someone named Linda Warner, who some of you may recall as her mother, worked at the credit union many years. And I think Kim is pitching for any additional money to help her restore her 1926 beachside bungalow near the beach. So with that, I place Kim's name nomination and as secretary, and I want to thank her for stepping forward. Are there any further additional nominations? Not everybody raise your hand at once. Did I see a hand raised? Pete?
Yeah.
Pete, DeChico, brother DeChico. Do you want to say anything?
Yes, known Kim a long time. Haven't seen her in a long while. Happy to be able to second her nomination. She'll do great.
Terrific. I was afraid you might run against her. David Cohen, did you raise your hand? Just, all right, anyone else?
Sorry, I was simply giving a thumbs up to Pete's eloquent speech.
Very good. Okay, hearing no further nominations, I suggest we vote her in by acclamation. All raise your hand if you agree. Raise your hand if you disagree, or I don't see any. Great. Kim, congratulations on being secretary. You know, as everyone knows who's done this stuff, they're two skilled jobs in these kinds of things: secretary and treasurer. This vice president and president stuff, anybody can do that stuff.
Yeah, right.
Okay. The next item on the agenda, first of all, I also want to thank Mark Lee for his great work as always as the chair of the nominations committee. His work, Mark Lee, you got some work this year to recruit new candidates for next year's election.